Just wanted to welcome everybody to Customer Day 2020. Customer Day 2021 even. Thank you for joining us this afternoon in our presentation. I think what we're going to do is it's going to be sort of circa 45 minutes. So and the title for the presentation is going to be Driving Customer Confidence Through Effective Management and Visibility Using Dynamics 365 CRM Apps. That's the topic that we're going to cover today. Just a few things before we start, and hopefully John can also confirm that you can hear me okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Everything is clear. You can see the screen okay. I can see it from here, John, so I think we're good with that. As mentioned, the presentation is going to be sort of circa 45 minutes, depending on how things go, really. And obviously, we've got quite a time for questions and answers. I think what we'll do is, if there's any questions in throughout the presentation, if you want to write them in the chat, and then if we've got time, we'll pick them up there and then. And if not, we will answer them at the end. So, yeah. So just a quick introduction. My name is Ben Humphries. I am a Dynamics 365 CRM consultant for technology management. Been with technology management now for just over a year. And my colleague here.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm John Evans. I'm also a Dynamics 365 consultant, and I've been with TechMan about 2.5 years.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, John. So this is a quick overview of what we're going to cover. It's essentially going to be a little bit of PowerPoint just about talking what the account management is, and then we're going to jump into a demonstration. I'm hoping half and half, really. I think if we can get into the demonstration earlier, I think it'll probably be a little bit more beneficial. So we've got what's a repeatable solution? The history around this the account management solution that we're going to talk about today. We're going to ask the question of kind of how you manage your account relationships at the moment within your business, and then what the account management solution can do for your business. And then we've got a concept of a basic or a basic version of the account management, and then an enterprise version of it as well. And then, like I said, after that, we'll get into the demonstration. So let's talk about what a repeatable solution is. So a repeatable solution is essentially a head start of a core product that you can embed for your project. It's tried and tested base framework. As mentioned, we can extend the account management solution to meet the needs of your business. So I think something that's just worth considering today is everything that we're showing you is configurable. Everything might not exactly suit what you are trying to achieve, but if the basis is there, we can tweak it and add to it and build on it to make it more fit in line with what your business requires. TechMan have already done the core configuration and the heavy lifting. We've already put together the tables and the views and the workflows and the forms to essentially make this product work. And I think the most important thing to understand is that the account management solution is built on the Microsoft Power Platform using Microsoft supported tools. So we're talking about CRM here. We're talking about Power Automate. We're talking about model driven apps, Canvas apps. There's nothing. It's all low code, no code. It's essentially there's no bespoke. There's nothing bespoke about it. So again, it can be configured to your needs.
Yes, I was just going to talk about the account management history. This was something that came from a discussion around January in 2020. I'd gone up to see a client and they had requested something to help them manage their customers, just make sure that they can keep on top of their relationships. As always, you know, back in the day when we used to go and see people and do site visits, it would normally be the case that after the meeting, I would drive back home, and on the drive home, I pretty much built the solution in my head. And the more we sort of thought about it and we looked at it, we thought this is something actually that we could do a framework here that a lot of people could use. It was something that we then put a concept together within a couple of weeks of that initial meeting. We showed it to maybe 3-4 other clients who all liked the idea. few people suggested some changes, because obviously that initial one worked for the company who requested it, but it obviously wouldn't work for everyone. And this is where we came up with the idea of actually putting together a repeatable solution for account management that people could have what they want, and also add to it, and not take what they didn't need.
Perfect. Cheers for that, John.
Mhm.
So, as mentioned at the beginning, this is kind of a generalization, and on how do you as a business manage your account relationships, and what we mean by that is the relationship between your business and your customers or your clients as such. Now, at the minute, do you is it managed within Excel, or Word, or is it something that's managed within Outlook between kind of appointments and emails? I think generally people that don't have a solution for this will go towards using Outlook to arrange appointments with their customers, and the interaction with their customers will be through the email, really. So, but again, that's very centralized into one mailbox. So in terms of trying to get a visualization of what the relationship is between you as the business and a particular account, it's very difficult to see what's going on. So the question that obviously that John and I pose really is that how do you know, within your business, without asking the account manager, what is the status of the relationship between yourselves and your customer? Things like kind of what defines how often you visit your customer now. Is it, or customers? Is it, or customer? Is it based on the number of people that work for the business? Is it based on how close they are, how close they are kind of from your office? Is it based on how much they spend with you? And then I suppose off the back of that, what factors drive, what other factors drive the amount of interaction you have with the customers? Because obviously everybody's interested in concentrating on the best accounts as such, which is obviously is a good place to be. But sometimes I think you need to realize the fact that there are your worst customers as well, and why are they your worst customers, and what can you do to build that relationship using this tool. So do you have any defined business processes at the minute, or is it ad hoc? I imagine if it's just using Outlook, with appointments, I imagine probably as close as it's going to get is a reoccurring appointment, probably at best. And then how do you report on that relationship status? And is it just one person that can give you that information? Okay, John, that's it. Cheers, John. So what the account management can do for you. So John will demo it, and it will make more sense, I think, when we put it on the screen. But essentially, it allows you to keep on top of your account relationships through appointments. It allows you to be more proactive than reactive, around managing those appointments. And by that, I mean that this solution or can has the ability again, you can choose to automatically create new appointments, for your accounts based on a tier, as such, a criteria that we assign to them. It's a self-managed end-to-end process through the Power Platform. Previously mentioned that. In that it's not just something that you log into, you then create the next appointment. It kind of it generates itself, it cycles through these things itself. So it's something that you are looking at as the account manager to find out what you need to do next, really, with that in that relationship. It stops important business tasks slipping through the cracks. So if you've got discussion points, or things you want to raise with a particular customer, you can put them within this solution, and these points that you've created will move from appointment to appointment if they've been met or not met. Just making sure that things just don't drop off the radar. So you're asking all the questions. You're asking all the questions you want to ask, that you set out to ask at the beginning of the relationship, and that you get the answers that you need to make sure that you can service that client in the right way. we've got better visualizations of the account relationship using Power BI. So we've got an overview of that. So we'll show you that on the CRM form of what that looks like. And then we've got the ability to schedule appointments by a specific tier on the account record. And that might be that you might class your customers as like a gold, silver, bronze, or what was the other one, John? Like a platinum.
Yeah, you could add whatever level you want. So yeah, you could add more levels to that, or it could just simply be something like key account and standard account.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can add as many of these as you'd like.
Perfect. And then the last one, just I kind of it's important, obviously, just to make so you don't make the assumption is that because we're using the account, because we're using the appointment table within CRM, any appointment that is created and then assigned, whoever is assigned as the owner on that appointment is that appointment is then synced into their Outlook calendar. So you've got two ways to look at the information either through CRM or through the Outlook calendar itself. So I think just before we dive into the the actual demonstration itself, this is kind of a top-down view of the relationship of how the enterprise version of the account management works. So hopefully, if you're familiar with CRM, this will hopefully help. But at the top level, we simply have an account. An account in today's demonstration is going to be an account called Noble Foods, and we've got an employee or the FD is working for Noble Foods called Stephen Shaw. Again, fictitious, but he's got it there just to make it more relevant. So we have linked to the account, we have an account plan. So an account plan is a time scale, generally kind of year to year. So it would be the beginning of 2021, so the 1st of Jan 2021 to the 31st of December. And then within that account plan, we have account plan objectives. Now, an account plan objective would essentially be high level tasks that you wanted to achieve or want to discuss and achieve throughout that account plan. So depending on what your business does, obviously will depend on what you want to achieve. They're not things you're going to put a date on as such. They're just things that maybe you have a base set of objectives that you apply to every plan. You got anything to add to that, John, to that particular part?
Not really, no. I mean, the account plan and the objectives are really designed for sort of like the internal consumption, so not really affecting your customers that much. So this would generally be something that would be agreed from the person who is going to manage the account with probably the person who's managing that person. So it's making sure that the sort of objectives might be to increase profit margins. It may be to bring their credit terms back in line with the rest of the business. It's just things that we might want to achieve on quite a high level that the customer is perhaps not aware of. Just things that at the end of the year, the account manager could then sit down with their line manager and say, let's see how it's gone with particular accounts. Have we achieved what we wanted to do? Here's what our tasks were. Here's what we've actually managed to do. As far as the customer is concerned, it's just something that doesn't exist. It's just a way of sort of monitoring how that account is going internally within the business.
Great, perfect. So from the account plan, when we've got these arrows here, essentially it's kind of like a one-to-many relationship. So the account plan would have many account objectives, and the account plan would again have many appointments against it. So throughout the year, based on throughout the year and throughout the duration of the account plan, you would have multiple appointments, and then on those appointments, you would have multiple discussion points. So each appointment would have multiple discussion points and then actions. So the discussion points is things that you want to discuss with the account as part of the appointment, and the actions are things that you would want to follow up as part of that appointment as well. So it might be like a little reminder of things that you said you do out of that appointment, or it might be, John, I think we've said as well, is that it might be actions that the customer said that they would do as well as part of the meeting that need to be done outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of these things that, as you can see from the arrows, they're all based on the one to many. So an account, as Ben has said, will, I mean, a logical thing for the account plan would be every year, but Again, as with everything on this, that's not set in stone. It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, it could be whatever you wanted. Each of those account plans will then have appointments linked to them, and then more things linked to them. So when you look at down to the bottom, that you have things like accounts and discussion points. By the time that the years have gone by with all the different account plans, if you're using them, the amount of discussion points with that particular account will be huge. But they're only really relevant in the context of those particular meetings. And yes, the idea of those extra ones on the side of the raise a case, raise an opportunity, these are things that we've just added into our demo system, so that from that appointment, when you close that appointment down, you could raise a case for somebody else to pick up, or raise an opportunity if something was discussed that would need that. But I've also added the something anything. We can, because we know on the appointment that that's linked to a plan, and it's also linked to an account, there can be other things there that we can link it to. We can really just extend it however anybody wants to work. So if somebody is doing something completely bespoke, we can add that in. As long as that relationship's there, because we put this in place so the right information is stored in the right place, the data structure is correct. So once that's in place, we raise it where we need to do it, and we can get everything we need to do.
Yeah, perfect. I think the other thing that's just worth mentioning around these kind of raise a case, raise an opportunity, and raise something else is that there is, when those things are done from the appointment, which again in the demo will make more sense, is that we can see from the appointments when we're looking at the reporting from a kind of historical reporting, we can see that from an appointment, how many cases have been raised from the appointment, how many opportunities, because
Ja,
essentially
ja, der er hvor vi har kørt
the
uden pris. Over.
the um the account manager could come back and just raise a case, but then separately, but there'd never then be any kind of relationship between that appointment and that case. So you'd never really get a feeling for what was happening during these appointments. And that would be the same for the opportunity and the same for something else, as John mentioned. So do you want to just flick over to the kind of the basic version of it,
Yeah,
John?
sure.
So as John mentioned, we kind of have this enterprise level with the account plans, kind of this additional layer in there. But I guess its simplicity, really, we have the concept of just having the account, having a reoccurring appointment. So rather than having a tier based a tier assigned to the account, we essentially just set kind of like a duration of a default duration of appointment time on the account. So we might say on the account for Noble Foods, we write the number of 30 for, and that's 30 days for between every appointment, and then every appointment that's automatically created is 30 days in front of the one that we've just closed. And again, we'd have multiple discussion points against that appointment. And I think, as John will demonstrate, is that when these discussion points on that appointment are met or not met, when that appointment is marked as closed, we can move those discussion points from the appointment we've just been to the next appointment. So again, nothing drops through the cracks. Is that all right, John? Have you got anything to add to that?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, some of the things that just to sort of add to this, which may be relevant. It's one of the things that could depend on is what sort of installation you've got of Dynamics 365. So previously, if we look at this one here, if you're on the professional version, which gives people limited access to custom entities, we've obviously got several custom entities on here. So if somebody has to write to those, you've got a limit on your license of 15. So this could consume quite a few of those if needed. However, if we move on to the more basic one, the only custom entity we're actually going to use here is discussion points. So it's meaning that if you are on a professional license, you can still use this system and it will still give you everything that you need, but you're not consuming those custom entities as needed. And yeah, I mean, when I go back to that original discussion that came from that sort of started the whole idea of account management, this was essentially the system that we put in place. The whole idea of having of just having the accounts, the appointments, and the discussion points.
Great. So should we just move to the next slide now, John?
Yeah.
I
Cool.
think we're at the
So
point where we're into the demonstration. So I
it's
think
my turn.
yeah, if you want to dive in, John, and we'll have a look at the demo environment that we've set up.
No problem.
And I think what I'll do, John, is I'll just field a few questions as we go through, and hopefully it will just kind of help to tease out some of the answers that that people might be looking for.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Okay, so we'll start at the very top level. So obviously what we're on here is the accounts, as Ben's introduced, the account we've created called Noble Foods. And one of the things that we've done on here, we've added a few different things to it. Nothing majorly to change the account, because most people obviously are using accounts on their CRM system, and we don't want to make too many wholesale changes to say you've got to use it this way. So it's more sort of some slight additions to it. So we've added a tab, and we've added the idea of an account here. So just by clicking on the account tab, we can see that first of all, we're linking into the current account plan. So we've got our 2021 account plan. And this again is just bringing through some information on a quick view form, just to sort of show us everything that's going on with that plan. So we also have some of our objectives as well, but those have become more apparent when we go in here. So when we go on have a look at our account plan, we can see it's just a very simple wrapper that we've got a start date, we've got an end date, we've got information, obviously, what it's linked to, we've named it, we've given it a primary contact, and we've got this idea of a relationship history. We use some of the standard functionality here to sort of show that as a star rating rather than a figure. We also have the idea of account objectives. And as we can see here, we've got some of them that are outstanding, some of them are completed, and it is just a case of, you know, as these go through the year, it may be that people will review this and will say that, yeah, that has now happened. So just by clicking on it and clicking on deactivation, that goes away from this list and it adds onto that one. So we can then say what we've actually managed to achieve and what we've still got to try and do. So it's sort of going through that idea of the account plan. The one that sort of everyone will be using day to day is the idea of account reviews. So as we say, these are just an appointment. So it's reusing the appointment entity within CRM, and we've got the idea of the last review and the next review. So we can see here that we've got all of these reviews that have been completed right from the start of the year up to the present one. So if we have a little look at our September review, so what we'll have here is, if as we're using the appointment, the account manager, if you're going to sync this with Outlook, this is what they'll see in their Outlook diary, that on the 1st of September, they'll have a 2 o'clock meeting till 3 o'clock with Noble Foods to discuss their account management options. Exactly as you said before, we've got this idea of various discussion points being linked there. So yeah, we've got 2 of them on there, and just like anything else with regards to CRM, if we want to add some more into there, we can simply add a new discussion point, pop that in there, and save and close. We've then got a 3rd discussion point in there. So this can be added as necessary. And because of how these discussion points are being added, you haven't necessarily got to go into the appointment to add them in. Some of the features that we've added, although I don't think we've enabled it on here, is the ability to use CRM's Quick Create. So just by going on here and adding in the standard things like accounts and cases, somebody, let's say there's somebody answering the phones, could just have the option to add in a discussion point. So they simply add that in, pick the account, and because we know that the latest appointment against Noble Foods is this September review, that discussion point will then pop up here for the account manager to raise that when they have a meeting next with the customer. So what we have here is the idea that during that meeting, these discussion points can then be viewed. They can be talked about. So if we just pick a standard, just pick one of those there, and we'll say, yeah, we've discussed that. We'll deactivate it. That's then met. That then doesn't need to be discussed anymore. It may be that we also do the same with this one here. It also gives you the ability, as I say, we've added a quick view, an editable grid on this, so somebody could add some notes into here, and that's then saved directly on that record. And then by selecting that, we could say that one is met as well. There you go. But it may be that the stock requirements, it may be there's somebody in the warehouse you need to talk to, they weren't in on that particular day, so we'll say that is not met. If we need to add some actions, we can do that too. So it could be rearrange appointment with warehouse. So that gets added in there. So we start having our actions in there as well. But at the end of this, so we've had our meeting, we've left this one point open, and the idea of things not falling between the cracks is that on this meeting, when we decide to mark that as complete, so we'll say, yeah, we've completed that meeting. That's now done. If we go back to our account plan, and then look at our reviews. We can see that September has been completed, and if we just give this a couple of moments, there we go, we've got an 11th one. So we go on there. That's now created a new one in a month's time. So the last one was our September review. This has created it for the 1st of October.
So John, just at that point there, I think obviously we mentioned we've seen you just complete an appointment record there, and it's obviously created the next one, and it's created this one for the 1st of October the 1st of October 2022, based on the last one being the 1st of September 2022. Whereabouts are we defining that in terms of when that next appointment is created?
Yeah, that is coming. If we go back up to the account level, that is coming from this account tier that we've selected. So if I click on this one here, we can see that our frequency of contact is 1 month.
Perfect.
So just for an example, I can update that to 2.
Yeah.
Save that. And we'll go back. So obviously our appointment has been created. So we'll go in there. And what we'll do, we'll have another go closing this down. It should do it then in 2 months' time. So we can, again, it's up to yourselves as to how often you want to have those and how many of those tiers you want to have as to what they're doing.
Yeah. So you've called it in this scenario, you've called it VIP, but what I'm thinking there is, from what I can see, is that when you've changed it to 2 months on the VIP tier, any account that has the VIP tier will essentially, then the contact will be set to 2 months. So every appointment that's created through this, the account management will be on a 2-month frequency. So again, I think it just comes down to what suits your business. To be fair, John, that'd be that you might have lots of tiers, and you might actually just call them, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, might you? If just because VIP might be meaningful to one business, but 1 month, 2 month, 3 month frequency might be, more, more fitting. And obviously there was another thing on there, John, that we've got this ability to, was it automatically create an appointment you when we looked at VIP?
Yeah. So one of the things that we have here is the a yes no box as to whether you want to automate those reviews. So by having this set to yes, that means that when that appointment was completed, as we saw, it created another one in a month's time. If you don't necessarily want to have those created, then you can simply switch them off as part of this. Now, you may ask, why would you actually want to do that? And again, the initial sort of discussion from this came down to something from January last year. And one of the requirements that we had from it is that it was a builders merchants, where the managing director was talking at a sort of head office level with people like Travis Perkins and Selco, all these different things. But yet all the different branches were being serviced by their account managers. So it may be that the account managers who are going in and seeing the people at the branches, they want to have those recurring appointments. But it may be that the MD at that kind of level doesn't necessarily need these, so doesn't need those automated reviews to come in, and it will just be something they chat to on a chat with them on a regular basis. So it gives you that ability to say whether you want those reviews or not based on that. And again, as you say, I mean, it may be quite possible that you could add more tiers, that you could have a 1 month with review tier. You could also have a 1 month without review tier. So it's just sort of more records to set as you need.
And we're just to be clear that when we talk about month there, we're talking about frequency of contact.
Yes.
In that it's not just month, is that? Yeah. So we've got.
Correct. So yeah, you could have it every 2 days if you wanted to really annoy your customer and have them be on the phone all the time. But yes, it could certainly be set up as you needed it. So it could be every if it's somebody who requires a lot of attention, you can maybe set it up as every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. It may be that if they don't really need that much attention at all, it could even be yearly. But just really can be set up however you need it.
That's great. That's great. Okay. I think that gives us an insight into the tiers and how that's quite useful. So yeah, should we jump back to the appointments and the
So just out of the box, or with what we've done here, it's just calling this account review. One of the things that we've had a requirement from another customer was actually to name this. Now I've just imported this and I've not got it to run, just so we can sort of see it not run when it's created, but just so we can see it, I've actually got it to run just as a trigger for when we change the duration. So if I just change that duration to 1.5 hours and save that record, what that will do in the background is the process that actually names that appointment will start to run, and we'll see. There we go. So it's now automatically changed that to early October meeting with Noble Foods. So again, if someone's going into their Outlook calendar, that has got a lot more meaning than just account review. And again, because we've sort of moved this into its own process, however anybody wants to name their accounts, we can do that. So name their appointments, we can do that. So as those come through, we can specify whatever criteria we need, quite simply just by setting that up. So hopefully, I think from the previous one, there was one discussion point open. So if we have a look at the discussion points, I'd like to think that, yep, the one that was not met is there. And just to sort of show you how that's sort of translated, that if we go back to that account plan and look at our reviews, it's updated the next one to the early October, which is the one, and moved the September to the last review. It should have updated this to carry forward. So if somebody then goes in and has a look at those reviews and sees what's happened to those discussion points, they can see that 2 of them were completed, 1 of them was carried forward about the stock requirements. So again, if I go back to that, we can see about talking about stock requirements, that's there. So again, it's following up that idea that it's not letting anything fall through the cracks. If it's not completed on one of your appointments, it's simply brought forward to the next one, so that things are so that things do
Not
actually get
missed.
followed up, not missed.
Yeah.
And again, just sort of following it in terms of the extendability of this system, as I say, because everything's put in this particular way, it hasn't necessarily got to be set in stone as to how the requirements work. We can add more levels to it. So just going back to that initial discussion with the managing director, talking at a head office level with everyone in there managing their branches, it may be that as part of this, and one of the requirements we had from that project was the managing director may want to add a discussion point to say that we've agreed a 20% discount for things over a particular period. Now, what they wouldn't want to do is go into every single one of those branches and add in that discussion point. So we added something that uses the parent and child facility of accounts to then say that if you add that at a particular level and there's child accounts, you're simply copying that discussion point to those child accounts. And again, because of how this works, that the addition of that discussion point will put it on the latest meeting. Just by adding that in at the one level, it could then be distributed to all of the branches throughout the country, so that next time an account manager goes in to see a branch of Travis Perkins, they'll have a discussion point that will say, we've got a discount on something, which again, it's just driving that discussion to make it seem like we're managing that customer in a proactive way rather than reactive, because it's something that's relevant to them.
Great. John, can I just interject there for a second? So we've got a question from Amy in the chat, which I think I'll just get just ask John to demo this last bit, Amy, and then we'll answer your question.
Okay, no worries.
If we just go back to the appointment, John, I just wanted you to give us a rundown on the sort of the outcomes section of that appointment, and what that means, because obviously we touched it on in the PowerPoint. So
yeah, so one of the things that we've got on here is this idea of doing raising other records. So we have this idea of raising a case, and if I click on yes on that, we're just using some process to simply show these case details. So you could enter in a title, details, where it's going to go to, and again, we could also create an opportunity that's also showing itself here to be able to add things in. So I can close that down, and if I pick something in here, test up. I can add things in here. And again, just by completing this, and there we go. So not only hopefully will we see that this will have completed the meeting, it should also have created a test opportunity against Noble Foods.
and that's the same for I think whilst John's doing that, that's the same for the case. So the case is linked back to the appointment, and we've also got this concept of the another. We've got in this particular example, we've got an escalation, which essentially I think it just sends an email to the account manager of that account.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I think I
So
think
yeah.
I think
So just to finish up, we can see it's created that opportunity. That's fine. We can have whatever we want in there. And just to sort of check, it should then have created the account review in 2 months' time. So it's certainly got a second one. So October's completed, and yeah, there we go. So it's completely missed out November, and it's picked up that thing on the tier to be able to show you that that's been done.
that's great. That's great.
Okay, right.
Go on, John. Go on.
No, I was going to say, I think that kind of brings things to a close in terms of what I want to demonstrate. The only other thing I was going to show, which we haven't touched on yet, is this idea of actions. So again, if things have to be done, we added one before, but at the moment these are just actions for the account manager. One of the things that I wanted to say was we could always add an extra field onto here to say who that action's for, whether it is account manager or whether it is managing director or whether it is customer.
Yeah.
And it can be that on completion of these, we could roll up everything that's got an action for the customer and actually send that in email to the customer, because we'll know who they are because we've added them in and as an attendee. So we can say these are your actions, and because we're going to use Power Automate to do that and collate it, we can format it so it's in a nice email that's got everything that's there. And it may be as well we can add a summary to the particular appointment. So not only at the end of the appointment are they getting the actions they've got to do, they can also have a whatever we want. So thank you for your time on the 1st of October. Here's what we discussed. Here's what we completed, and here's your actions to take away from it.
Yeah, great. I think probably the last thing we'll just show you this last thing, and then we'll just answer Amy's question. It's just around the Power BI report that we've got on the
Oh, of
account
course,
form
yes.
itself.
Yeah.
So we talked about visualizations in the presentation at the beginning. So what we've done is just embedded a dashboard, a Power BI dashboard. Now this dashboard is at the minute is kind of at what would it allow us to do is to look at the account management overview and see, based on the record that we were looking at, how many discussion points were open against that account, how many outstanding objectives we had, how many cases had been raised against each appointment, how many escalations, and how many opportunities, if that's something we were using. It just gives us a feel for, again, when we're talking about who do you ask to look at who do you ask to find out what the relationship status is between yourself and a customer without asking the account manager. In theory, what you could do is just come to this tab and see what was going on, see how many cases that they had raised over those meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea is as well. I mean, this is obviously just something we just put together for the demo. If your system was linked up to Business Central, and you've got Power BI working on that, it hasn't necessarily just got to get its data from CRM. You could find that this report is getting its data from Business Central, actually contextualized for Noble Foods. So we could have tiles on here that have got spend this quarter, spend last quarter. How many outstanding invoices are there? We can basically just add whatever Power BI report you want and surface it on here. So that sort of very, very relevant data for your customer is there and visible. And yeah, we haven't necessarily got to have it on the account form. We could put it on that account review, so that when someone's going in, the only thing they have to look at is that review, and all the data that they want is then showing for them.
That's great, John. So Amy says, we're very tight
Yes.
on time. Amy says, is this available at vendor level as well? We have yearly supplier review meetings, and it'd be useful for that. So is it available at vendor level as well? I mean, for me, the account, it just comes down to account type of vendor.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, what we're doing here is we're running this against an account record, which is Noble Foods. But yeah, obviously, I mean, I've done this based on the fact that it's going to be a customer, but there's absolutely no reason whatsoever that this couldn't be any single account that you wanted. The key things on this, and it can be set up that as you add an account tier, or it may be even a vendor tier, that is what creates the process. Again, it's just adding things to it to make sure it goes through. So yeah, absolutely, this could be done against any type of account record within CRM. So it could be that you want to exclude customers and actually have it for vendors. It would work just the same.
I like the idea of having a vendor tier, a vendor account tier, John. And then obviously, like Amy says, if they do yearly meetings, if she's got an account tier called vendor yearly, for example,
Yeah.
they would know that again you could, Amy, in theory, if you classified that account as a vendor, you could automatically apply the account tier of vendor yearly to that account and therefore any account that was added in a vendor would have that account tier. So any account management plan that got put against it would those yearly appointments would be created. So I've got 2 minutes, John. So I think we've covered a lot there. Has anybody got any questions that they want to fire out? We've just got Amy's chatting, typing there.
I've noticed with Teams sometimes that after someone has typed something, it still thinks you're typing.
Oh, does it?
So
Okay.
I know Amy said thank you. So if there are any more, that's fine. We'll certainly answer them, but it may just be a hangover from that.
That's fine.
No worries.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there is anything further from this, I mean, please feel free to get in touch with the account manager, and we'll be able to answer any questions. And if you'd like a bit more of a focused demo, a bit more of a discussion tailored to yourselves, again, we'd be more than happy to arrange that, to be able to do that. But again, I think based on Amy's question, also based on what we tried to say today, that what we try to do here is have something that is that framework that we put in place that can then be extended and modified to work however you want it to do. It's not something that we say, this is what we've written, this is what you're going to have. It's that idea of having all those links put together, all the processes that tie everything together, and then add in those particular elements that sort of really will give you the benefit to your business.
Great. Perfect. Thank you for your time, everybody. I hope it's been informative. Thank you, John, for the demo. I'm going to drop off, and thank you, Dan, as well. So
Good ahead of ourselves.
great. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.